Okay, perfect. So yeah, so today I am so excited to have Bobby Puim as my co-host for this exciting and informative webinar today. So Bobby, for those of you who don't know him, he's with Playbook and REC Canada, and they are an investor-focused Royal LePage National Chairman's Club team, and they've been in the top 3 in GCI and units in each of the past 5 years, with 70% of their transactions in the past 3 years coming from the investors segment. So Bobby is here as our subject expert, and thank you so much for coming out today, Bobby.
No, thanks for having me. I wouldn't miss these things for the world. I love doing this stuff.
Me too. So today, what we will be doing together is we will go over the new, soon to launch residential investment website, the kinds of leads that the new website will generate, the nurturing investor focused smart campaigns that will be available for you to use in RLPSPHERE, as well as some other great tips and tricks for working with your investor clients. Okay. So, as you guys know, the session will be recorded, it'll be emailed to you as a follow up. So, if you need to leave early or whatever, don't stress. We will also send you some resources. So we'll mention a few things as the session goes on. We'll send you those resources as well. And yeah, and feel free to say hi in the chat if you haven't done it yet. Just make sure you're talking to everyone. Okay, so let's get into this. Over to you, my friend Bobby.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, like Stephanie mentioned a little bit earlier, we worked with Royal LePage to design the Investors Edge program to help every Royal LePager that is interested in doing so to help service what we've sort of defined as the missing middle in real estate. Um, eh, many of us work in a residential sense, right? So whether it's leasing and then sort of those individuals get into a first-time home buyer scenario, and then helping them to move around based on life events, right? You've got now two children, you need more space, or those two children are now, 18 and 20 years old, and they're all off to university, and those are very specifically lifetime events that we're all very familiar with working, or a lot of us work in the commercial sense as well, right? So that whether it's a commercial plaza or a 10-unit building, all of those things on sort of that end of the spectrum. But there's this very interesting and quite lucrative missing middle at the moment where individuals, need to or want to move out of that residential space, but not get all the way into that huge commercial space. So we've sort of dubbed the term, resi-mercial, that helping individual investors, the mom and pops, acquire something for monetary purposes to help enrich their lives in real estate itself. So the entire Investors Edge program is based around that premise that there is a distinct need for a more educated, savvier, right, more well-rounded individual realtor, sales representative, broker, however you define yourself, to be able to service that need. And that's exactly what Investors Edge has gone off to work on building. So we've worked on two sort of senses here, right? We've done the training component, which I know that a lot of you, I see some similar names, right, or some names that are into the program itself. We've done a training package based around these exact missing middle components. So there's a pre-construction investment opportunity component. There's a residential resale and income property component, and there's also a short-term rental component to the training. And all of that will lead to then things that you'll see later in this presentation that are based around how we then begin to draw people in utilizing technology, both from Royal LePage's perspective and some of the stuff that Playbook is helping to power up on the website itself. So that's sort of a high level overview of sort of what we've got going on and why we've started doing it. But we're going to then jump into each one of these components and take you through each one so that you can see how well thought out, how well structured each component of this is, and how you can add it to your business specifically.
Amazing. Yeah. So I just want to kind of sum up because you said a lot there, Bobby, which was great. It was really thorough, but sometimes really I just want everyone to understand like we have kind of two components of the Investors Edge program. really. You can think of it as the training, which Bobby talked about and we'll talk more about. And then the second component is the website. And the website is really what's going to be consumer focused, investor consumer focused, and we'll have all kinds of amazing investor specific information, resources and tools, like some of the financial things. Bobby, can you explain some of those? Because I am not the expert there and I have not taken the master class. So
So
yeah.
up onto the site, yeah, up onto the site itself. I would like everybody to think of this sort of as an MLS for investment focused opportunities. What we've been able to do is add investment components, things like potential cash flow, potential appreciation, potential all overall ROI or return on investment to a set of listings that match the criteria that we know make for good investments. So what Royal LePage InvestorsEdge.ca or RLP InvestorsEdge.ca will actually do is empower the consumer on the other end of the transaction to be able to sort of play around with, if this was going to be an investment for me, right? What would it look like? And they can change things on the site, everything from expected rent on a monthly basis to an expected mortgage rate. And all of those things combined will spit out some numbers for these individuals that will show them how it could and perhaps should act as an investment. The whole point of this then is that we've now got a highly trained and educated agent on the other side of the transaction to be able to take what that investor has ingested from the site themselves and really refine it down into how it makes a difference in that individual's life. That's the whole premise behind what RLPInvestorsEdge.ca will end up doing for people.
Now, I've had some people kind of, I don't know, they don't see the point of learning, and they're like, well, I already do residential and things are fine. But what are, moving on to kind of the next slide, can you talk about some of the reasons why you get more business working with this kind of client?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would speak more to my REC Canada, my day-to-day real estate job in this particular sense. But what we've managed to do over time is take any one transaction and turn it into what we define as sort of three over the course of a shorter period of time. When I go to do this with a new onboard, like I like to use my hands a lot. I hope that everybody can still see my hands, but when we talk about a traditional, working with a client, right? I like to believe that you got started young in this business and you're leasing with somebody and you've managed to maintain a relationship into finding them their first home, right? You've been with them long enough all of a sudden to have them doing something, excuse me, like I mentioned before, with, they need more space because they've got 2 children or 3 children or 10 children or no children at all, and they just want more space, right? But also then later in life when somebody wants to be able to downsize in this particular realm. Now, lots of people move in between, and that's sort of a very straight line to a scenario here. But what we're doing when we do something like working with Investors Edge and these investor metrics is actually creating something in between each one of those particular transactions. In most cases, it's utilizing savings or equity to add an investment all of a sudden after that first time home buyership, turning this individual into an investor, having them understand that they can derive monetary value, actually make dollars by investing in real estate. And for every one of those transactions, it commonly produces two more over the course of a shorter period of time. So already I have more fingers up on my hand than I did throughout the entire life cycle of life events that happen to people, right? And I've gotten to more transactions more quickly by simply better educating my client base into what investment can in fact do for them. They will work to then the right hand side of this particular graph, right? So no longer are these transactions lifetime dependent, right, or life event dependent, but we've worked into the wealth accumulation in real estate over time. You benefit from that in the way that more transactions happen, which is what we're always sort of combing and mining our databases for. And that works actually best in your database because these are people that have a known and inherent trust with you. People commonly work with people that they like. They're in your database for a reason. This is the type of thing that you can be empowering and educating them towards. And your client wins in this way because I think that we all understand working in this industry that real estate and time go really, really well together. The longer we hold something, the more valuable it commonly becomes. You can derive more value in ways like cash flow and appreciation over time. So the more of it that we own for a longer period of time then holds true that you are simply building wealth over time with your client base. Again, that inherent trust from the beginning spread out into many, many different transactions that inevitably generate exactly the two things that we both want. Wealth on one side, the client, transactional components on our side, because that's our business. So I hope that makes sense too.
Well, one of the things that I've learned from these sessions and just learning the benefits for a real estate professional to get into this is, I know that a lot of the time with most folks who work in residential, there's like really, really crazy busy times a year, and then there's slumps where things are really slow. And then yeah, and it's very predictable. And I from what I'm hearing, like investors, it's not going to be, you don't have that back to school rush and that sort of thing of everybody needs to be moved into the house before Christmas so you can set up a tree. And now it's the quiet time in residential, right? um but with so that's nice. And also like you said, the client really benefits because a lot of these people, I'm thinking of myself as a client. I never thought about this until we started talking about all the, and now I'm thinking about, what do I have in savings that I could do? But that's another story. So I think it's really cool to open up people's minds to the possibilities. And like you said, it's like a win-win-win all around. Okay, so let's talk about what folks will learn or what they have learned, if they've completed it in the masterclass training.
Absolutely. It's we try to go soup to nuts, be as far to the beginning as possible with the masterclass. So you're going to see that very top line, that client intake, how we take in new and better levels of information in order for us to get that individualized investor a very specific plan in which to action. I think that anybody that's taking the masterclass at this point understands how important the real estate action plan, the REAP is what we call it, how important that actually is. It is from that point, it's the REAP is a launch pad to be able to actually go out and take actionable steps in order for us to transact in this way. Find exactly what that investor's needs and wants are in the investment realm, and then push those out the other side while always understanding what investment types there are, right? Making sure that we're working within regulatory frameworks. The example in the framework side is every municipality in this country seems to have different short-term rental options. Okay, different rules, regulations, things that you can and cannot do. So we try to touch on understanding why those are in place and how to then navigate them in your marketplace bit by bit, right? But then overall enhancing what that relationship with that investor is while delivering the best possible service. So just again, from beginning to end, we taking in better information, crafting a very specific and actionable plan, understanding that we are, in fact, the experts that are going to become that first and only call in real estate so that it continues to happen. We've made a cyclical business that actually smooths out, to your point earlier, Stephanie, smooths out some of the rough patches in business. No longer should your business be spring because the chicks are hatching and fall because the kids are back at school, but it should be investment over the course of an entire year that you can help implement your business with as well, right?
So true. I love it. Okay. Facebook group, that's another one of the benefits, right? Of being part of the masterclass. This is exclusive. Only masterclass students are able to be part of this group, okay? Part of our kind of follow-up to this session will include a link to the group. If you're not part, you will have the link then, or if you simply cannot wait. You can always just search for it on Facebook group, on Facebook and request to join. Okay. And that's a great place where you can just chat with colleagues, exchange ideas, generate potential referral business, right?
There's that too. I love some of the things that I've seen in here, and also in the community within the learning management software as well. Conversations back and forth about how do you handle this particular thing, right? The example there, I saw one recently about HST and its implications for short-term rental investors in Ontario. It's pretty highly specific, but it's very interesting to see how any one individual is attacking that potential problem or conversation with any other investor, while then you are able to sort of sit and watch by with your colleagues, other experts taking the same level of education and commitment to their business to be able to implement those things bit by bit for yourself. And there's got to be 1,000 examples of this, right? They never come to mind in the moment that you need them, but this is exactly what I would use both the Facebook group and the learning management software for. It is really bouncing great ideas off of one another to see what you can implement into your business specifically.
And like it's if you have a question, guaranteed like one or two other people probably have the same question. So don't ever be shy to be the first one to ask, right? Because yeah, it's always and we're so lucky in Royal LePage. Everyone's so collaborative. Like we are such a beautiful, great environment. And yeah, we have opportunities to take advantage of all of that goodness. Okay, let's talk about the website. And so you guys know, like 1 week, I can't believe it. 1 week, it's gonna happen. And 1 week from now, it's gonna launch. So let's talk about Bobby. Can you tell me us the kinds of investor suitable listings that are like from the MLS that we can expect to see on the website?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is such a great slide, right? It just sort of delineates the four types of leads that I believe that we're about to embark upon working with. The first being MLS suitable listings. These would be anything that we've been able to, with Royal LePage's help, right, us at Playbook, add investor metrics to because they meet certain markers, right? We believe that we can push forward on things that we believe will cash flow based on current price points, or they're identifying as they have separate entrances. Think of this as residential resale components, right? Anything in the residential resale market, anywhere from 1 to 4 doors, so that we're in that resi-commercial space that somebody could click on and say, I would love to learn more about this, right? The next one is the pre-construction exclusive listings. This is something that Playbook is very, very proud of. I'm very, very proud of, is that we've managed to connect with builders, developers, and marketing agencies across the country to be able to bring exclusive inventory to the Royal LePage network. So what we'll end up showing are available units, right, and only available units at projects countrywide that have up until this point had nowhere to be advertised outwardly to the actual end user, the consumer, the investor. Okay, we're working on expanding that feed currently, but what we're doing here is sort of revolutionary to the marketplace. Royal LePage is the only place to be able to find anything of this nature. You can also, like I mentioned before, on both of those types of listings, attach new and better metrics to them as you go. So they are gamified to a degree. I can move my mortgage amount. I can move my rental amount bit by bit as a consumer. And the real call to action here is to connect with an experienced and educated agent to be able to talk me through how I'm right or wrong. Not just that I want more information on this thing, but I want to know how accurate I could be with these because I now have a subject matter and geographical expert sitting inside of my room in the form of an RLP InvestorsEdge trained agent. The assignment listings is a very interesting one as well. This is when somebody has done a pre-construction opportunity and it isn't quite ready in the resale realm, but I can actually still sell that paperwork, that contract to another investor and make a bit of a spread on it. So this is actually a very important component that doesn't also exist in a real public facing way in a lot of places. So we've been able to consolidate a lot of those things as units move through their life cycle. We are able to then put them out for sale as well, adding a new pillar to your business. So as you have these, you can actually list them through Royal LePage network, if I'm not mistaken, and get them up onto the site for more visibility as well. Last but not least, because of the technology that Stephanie and the entire team at Royal LePage have always sort of had available to us at roylepage.ca, we're able to then generate seller and like new listing leads as well by attaching the things like quick quote that I think a lot of people are familiar with, but now doing it in such a way that if I was to sell my property as an investment, where can this take me? I want to talk to an agent who can help me to dispose of this in such a way and become that expert for them. So people are going to be able to sort of search their own stuff and say, hey, this could be a great investment. I want to talk to somebody about it so that I can market it in that way as well, reaching a broader spectrum of potential buyers on the other end. So you as Royal LePagers have a ton of new potential here. And what I like to say about this particular slide, right, is that I think a lot of people believe online leads are very top of funnel, way up in the air, and very specifically that they can be a waste of time. But when you think about all the things that we just sort of talked about and driving those people further down the funnel so that they can actually connect with an expert who can confirm numbers and answer very specific questions about what this potential property has for my potential portfolio, I think you're going to find a more refined lead over time because of it.
I'm really excited to see what we get, right? And so those are the kinds of leads that we anticipate to obtain from listings. Okay. Then we also have agent search leads. Okay. So I see our friend Dane is on the call today. So you can see Dane here is a beautiful example of what all the agents who complete the masterclass training will have on the site. So everyone who graduates from the masterclass training will have a profile featured in the Find an Agent results of the new website. And this is where potential clients can connect to the agent through a contact me. So you can see it there under his name. It's a red button that says contact agent form. So when people come to the site and they look for somebody in Chatham, Kent, for example, they'll see our friend Dane there. And I put him up here because I want to shout out he was the first person to complete the masterclass training. So, congratulations. That's why you are up there. Now, the other kind of find an agent leads that people that you folks can receive would be general ones where people come to the homepage of the new site and they do a general search and they basically ask the system to match them up with someone. Okay, so they can come to the site, they can look for an agent, find all your beautiful faces and contact somebody directly. Or if they don't want to do the contact directly, they can do a general find an agent form. And you guys can get all these amazing leads. And so now this is where I'm going to step in for a bit and talk a little bit about the technology and how the smart leads technology facilitates more leads to be closed. Okay, because we know that there's two main principles to closing more leads, and that is fast response and continuous nurturing. And smart leads helps to satisfy that. Okay, so how does it do that? Well, fast response is enabled by sending you leads via text and email. Okay, I want every one of you to note the email and phone number on this slide in red, in bold. Okay. This is from where you will be sent your investor leads. I want you to save that as a contact to your phone, assign a special ringtone to it. Okay. And if speaking of phones and text, if you do not yet have your cell number in your RLP network profile after this session, I need you to do that. Doesn't have to be set to display to the public, but you do need to put the phone number in there for it to sync into the lead delivery system. Okay, and then that way we can send you leads via text and not just via email. Okay. Um, Leads time out. And that's one of the ways that we ensure a fast response time. And what that means is if you don't accept your lead in the allotted time you are provided, it's going to be sent to another qualified agent. And it's not to punish you, it's not to be mean, it's to ensure that there's really, really good customer service. Because one, um, people are painfully impatient. And if you don't answer them quickly, they're just going to fill out another form and another form and another form until someone answers them, because people want immediate satisfaction. So we want to help them be accepted as quickly as possible. And then we also, with that, every time you accept a lead, it automatically becomes a contact in your RLPSPHERE account. Okay. And what the beauty of this is it integrates with the smart campaigns. Okay, and we're going to talk about those in a little bit, but they integrate with the smart campaigns. So the moment I accept a lead and I have the applicable campaign turned on, that lead gets an immediate hello, thanks for your inquiry email and text, and then they're satisfied. Okay. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's go kind of step by step. Okay. So for anyone who has never received a lead from RLP, yeah, this is what it looks like. So you receive it, you can click on either on the left here, this is what it looks like via a text. And then over here on the right is what it looks like via an email. Either way, you have the option to say yes or no. Okay. Now, even though you have the option to say no, I want people to get in the habit of just always saying yes, because you're going to use the automated system to do the auto message, right? So, I mean, right now, I bet you Bobby's saying yes to leads because I know that he uses smart campaigns with auto replies. I'm probably saying yes to leads right now, and they're all getting these lovely messages from me because they don't know that I'm doing a presentation, right? All I have to do is to be able to say yes. Okay, so yeah, because the immediate satisfaction, they want immediate satisfaction. Okay, so we're gonna say yes. We're gonna click that button to say yes. Then we come to the countdown clock, and that tells me how much time I have. Okay, now we talked about different lead types. And if you don't know these technical terms yet, we have two general buckets of leads: designated and distributed. A designated one is ones that come from your listings, okay? And you'll have 15 minutes to accept it. And then if you don't accept it, it's going to be sent to one of your qualified colleagues to help nurture and, work that lead. In the case of a distributed, which is everything that's not your listing, you have 5 minutes. Now, those ones from your profile, okay, that I talked about before, where I showed, Mr. Appleton's little thing, that just goes to you and you alone. That doesn't go to anyone else. Okay, so we're just talking about the listing inquiries and the pre-construction ones and such. Okay, so you hit the button to say yes. You see your countdown clock. You say yes. And then, like I said, moments after accepting the lead, you get this message, okay? And this tells you everything about your lead, their specific message. I know you can't read this now, but it doesn't really matter. It's just for demonstration purposes. But what's really cool is the automation and integration with the Sphere, okay? So here's an example of the first message for the custom RLP Smart Campaign for investor leads, okay? Hi, Bill. Thanks for your inquiry on the LePage Investors Edge website. I'll be in touch shortly. Do you prefer to connect over email, text, or a phone call? Stephanie Gellman, LePage Brokerage. Beautiful, lovely message. And these like I said, they satisfy people, so they don't go off and fill out a gazillion forms. Bobby, what are your anecdotally, can you share results that you've had like with, I know you use smart campaigns, the RLP created ones. How's it going with that?
Yeah, it's been going just incredibly well. We're super happy with it. All testing that we've been doing for this particular program has just landed so well with potential investors. Something as simple as what you've got on the screen right now actually provides a handful of data points that perhaps we aren't in tune with at first with an online lead in theory here, right? Like in just sending this text message and receiving a response back, I know exactly how this particular individual wants to consume the remainder of the information that I have to be able to provide them. right? I know that if they're asking for a phone call, that like that's something very directed, and I know that then I've got a script backing me up within that campaign to help me get the necessary information to get me to my next point. I think a lot of the people in the masterclass here are going to understand that, like, when this type of thing happens, we want to get them into a meeting to be able to build their real estate action plan. It's that client intake. So I would be remiss to call somebody who says, well, I want to know this by email and I want my performance, I want it now, that kind of thing, or my property analyzer and I want it now, I would be remiss to call them. That would be a silly thing to have done, but I can gather that level of data now. And we've been doing this to such a degree over the last 3 months with testing that we're converting into transactions at 7.8% of all leads that have landed with us. So like if I think you're going to show us slide here upcoming, right? Where like 1 to 2% is commonly the industry average, and 2 to 4% is the Royal LePage average because we're that good at it. And this is why I believe that this program is going to provide such a refined lead down the line that if you leverage what is coming from Royal LePage in this way, that you can be outpacing the marketplace by a lot, just
Exactly.
based on our testing.
Now, I saw the question in the chat from Puim. I will get to that in a moment because it's a good question. Okay, so we talked about my lead. You know, I just said yes to a lead. They go in my sphere. Okay, my lead is receiving that intro message. Simultaneous to that happening, me, the agent, am receiving actually two different emails, one from the sphere and one from Smart Leads, with the lead details. So the one from Sphere is the one that you see on the left here. It's kind of short and sweet and doesn't say a whole lot. The one on the right from Smart Leads has a lot more details. Regardless of which email you prefer, which one you what's important to note is that both of them have a button that brings you to your CRM with one click. And this is best practices. Is what you want to do is at the moment after you accept one of your leads and you're able to, you go into your email, you jump into one of these, you click that button and jump into your CRM, because as Bobby mentioned, there's some tasks. Okay, so I'll talk about that in a sec. Now, if I'm talking about smart campaigns, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because maybe some of you are wondering, what is a smart campaign? What is she talking about? I'll just take a little step back and I'll explain that, a smart campaign is a specific item in RLPSPHERE. You can think of them as a mix of an action plan and a drip campaign. So they can have things that are automated by the system, like emails and text messages and status updates. They can also have things that are tasks, like to-dos for the agents, for you, me, the agent, to do. Okay, so that's what smart campaigns are. And in the sphere, you can find a ton of them that RLP Canada created for you. Okay, now specifically the ones that we made for the investor clients, they have 70 touches over 6 months, totally castle compliant, and they're very tailored for your investor clients. Part of which is why it's important to do your masterclass, because there's going to be some tasks in there that reference things that you'll learn in your masterclass. So you might get to a task and go, "What the heck is this? What are they talking about?" If you haven't done all the classes. Now, this is the chart that Bobby was talking about, right? And the reasons we want to use smart campaigns, okay? And really the reason is because they get proven results. Um, the numbers tell us that the average close rate for online leads is 1% or less. Now, I personally believe that this is not because they're weak leads, okay? uh, because I've seen through managing our Smart Leads program since 2018, and I see cross country and even places where it's the same market, it's not the leads that matter, it is how they are managed. Because I see when they're managed well, close rates will increase. anywhere between the 4 and 6% range. You know, this year was a little tough. So I think the RLP close rate was closer to between 3 and 4%, as Bobby mentioned earlier. But as you guys all know, this was a rough year in the market. But some agents like his team, they do even better than that. Okay. And why do they do better? Well, a lot of it is because they use systems. Okay. So I mentioned before the two principles to closing leads, fast and continuous. Now, I've heard anecdotally from people who use the smart campaigns that anywhere between 5 and 10% of their leads answer that first message, which is pretty cool, right? But if you weren't furnishing a quick reply, well, guarantee that lead could have gotten impatient, gone to another site, and then some other guy that used the system with a quick reply would have had them. And then when you get around, 3 hours later to answering them, well, that lead's gone because it went to someone else who was more responsive quicker. Okay. So that's like 5 to 10% of your leads. The rest of them might take a bit longer. We are hoping and we all want the lead that wants to buy tomorrow or next week or next month. But most of them, and I'm going to even guess, even with these savvy investor folks, might be a little slower. They might be earlier in the funnel. And that's why we need to persist with the outreach. And also, these people are very likely educated. And so you're going to have to try harder to prove yourself. They might not answer you because they're waiting to see what you can show them, right? Through your outreach that gives them value. Right? I see Bobby nodding like you want to say something, but or maybe you're just really, really agreeing with me, right?
No, I just really, really agree with you. And I know that at some point we're going to hit another slide where we're going to talk about like the different types of conversations that I think you're
Oh,
going to be
yes.
having with these
Mm-hmm.
individuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I would take away from just this slide before I let you get
Oh,
back to it here is that what Royal LePage's really work to do is ensure that all of these things are put into a cadence that makes sense while taking you out of the I don't want to call them non-important, right? But the tasks that could be automated are automated. And it's really only pinging you. The system as a whole is really only pinging you to ensure that you are doing the money making activities when it comes to this sort of thing. And you'll see an example of that when we get to the other slide as well.
mm-hmm. Well, so this one right here is our sort of overview summary, right, of what happens throughout the 6 months. And I don't know if you can tell here, maybe I should have made it a little more obvious to see, but I put little asterisks beside the agent actions. So we can see, on day 0, so that's when the lead comes in, uh, the system sends my lead a text and an email. Okay. Then I have to pick up the phone and call them. We don't have the system doing that yet. I have to do that. That's cool. And then I prepare a thing called a pro forma. And if you don't know what that is, that means you need to take the class. Um, okay. So I'm going to pick up the phone and call them. And if I don't connect with the person, right, then the campaign continues. So in this, you'll see there's little things with little stars. This is me, the agent. And yeah, and the rest is valuable, but it's stuff that you delegate. You've delegated to the system to drip the people with pieces of value. Um, yeah. And then it's great because really this continues with the assumption, well, it continues until your lead replies. Okay. So the point of all of these things that you're going to do, all the phone calls that you're going to make, all the text messages and emails that the system will send for you is to get your new lead to reply. And then when they do, the system does all kinds of cool magic. It updates them from new to active lead. It removes this campaign because this one doesn't make sense anymore. Okay. It applies another campaign that just reminds you to stay in touch because you don't need to be told really what to do now because now you're working your magic and you do what you know how to do. Now, if your lead never replies, well, at the end, the castle consent's removed. Their status goes from new to archived. No more messages occur, and they're just kind of pushed to the back of your CRM. And then you don't have to think about them. So I think of using these things as a way to like sift out the good from the bad. You know, I've had some agents say to me, but Stephanie, I don't use RLPSPHERE. So none of this matters to me. Okay. But this is what I would like to say to them, and if any of you are on the call right now, I want you to hear me, use the campaigns to filter. All right. And then when Bobby the lead answers, well, then take his info out of Sphere and then put it in top producer or whatever it is that you like using better. But why not use the RLP campaigns for the RLP leads? Let, go with our little program. And then once they start interacting, that's when you move them into your full-time system that you prefer, right? Because it's all integrated already. So I want people to think about doing that. Yeah. Okay. Now, I could talk forever, but I see that we have 20 minutes, so I have to tell myself to move along and let you know that so we're, like I said, we've created campaigns for you guys. Okay, so we've created campaigns and you'll see them as of next week. So for your residential income property leads, for pre-construction leads, they're all going to be turned on. You don't need to do anything at all. It's just boom there. Now, and we're also going to send everyone an email with like more details about all these. So don't worry if I'm going over this quickly. You're going to get more deep details. Okay. Seller lead campaigns, assignment lead campaigns, those will be coming post launch, very soon post launch. Okay. The find an agent ones, right? I mentioned those ones, the ones from your page. Okay. And then the ones, the general find an agent ones where people don't know you. They just ask the system to match you up with someone. I want you to create a custom campaign that introduces yourself. Okay. It doesn't have to be much. It doesn't have to be much of anything at all. Just a little, hi, I'm Stephanie the agent. This is why I'm great. And, this is my little value prop. So one of the resources that I'm going to send you will be about how to create your own smart campaign if you've never done it before. It's not terribly difficult. Okay, so I already showed you the first automated message. We don't need to go over that. Other messages that go along with the smart campaigns for investment listings are great, to the point. Some are longer, some are shorter. For example, we have, hi, Bill. I was wondering if you needed help with financing options for your investment. I can connect you with skilled lenders who can help maximize your investment. Let me know if you're interested. Stephanie Gellman, Royal LePage Brokerage. Et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of great messages. Now, somebody asked earlier about customizing. Okay. And they said, can I customize? You cannot, you are not able to customize what RLP has created because of the hierarchy cascading limitations of RLPSPHERE. You can't, now you could create your own campaigns if you really want to, right? And I'm going to send you the documentation that shows you how. You could copy our campaigns and then edit those copies. But, I really just want people to resist the urge to try to personalize. And I've done some sessions in the past about people's resistance to using campaigns. And, a lot of it is people feel it's not their voice. Doesn't sound like me, so I don't want to use it. But let me remind you that these are strangers who don't know you. They don't know what you sound like, so they're not going to hear that and go, "Geez, that doesn't sound like Stephanie Gellman. That's really weird. I'm confused. I don't want to answer her." It doesn't work like that. I think it's something that we need to just move on from. But that's my personal thought. So, assuming they never reply, okay, you get this final message. And what this final message doesn't, and here's another reason why I don't think it's a good idea to personalize. Okay, we researched a lot into best practices and we thought and at times we had strong words about what every sentence should contain and every word, and everything is written for a reason. Okay, including this one where it's the final message, but I don't want to say goodbye forever. I'm inviting them to sign up on my website, right? So just, yeah, if you really feel the need to edit, I want to encourage you to not. But let's say you're using campaigns, whether they're yours, they're ours, whatever, you use your campaigns until you get a reply from your lead. That's the point, right? You want to elicit replies. Okay, now you're going to use some tips and tricks from Bobby. Going to talk about how you can maximize chances for further interaction through genuine engagement.
Yeah, thanks for all of that. It's super impressive, everything that LePage has built. I always sort of liken this to the agents on the REC Canada team as that this is your high level personal assistant that's going to send all of these things on your behalf so that you can jump in when that assistant doesn't know what to say, right? And that's exactly why I believe that taking the master class and working towards speaking the language of the investor is going to become so important. Because the times that you do take action, you're going to notice very distinctly that your conversations are going to contain different things than you're used to and the residential side of these things. People are going to come to you as relatively well educated and ask you about a cap rate about something, which is a measure of how that property should perform in any one place. They're going to want to understand more of the financial mechanisms, a lot of the numbers that are going to go into why they're seeing what they're seeing at rlpInvestorsEdge.ca. And I think that you are going to have to do a really good job of defining what those terms are for people over time. Value, as an example here, I like to pick on this one. Value is different than cost, right? Is different than return on investment. Value is what it brings to somebody's lifestyle. And you're not going to be able to uncover that if we start in a different place than where this investor is at. And I think that that's exactly why when we talk about like what is, why the masterclass has become so valuable to you and your businesses. It's that we break it down beginning to end to say, from this intake onwardly, from this initial touch point onwardly, we're just having new and different, and in some case, better conversations about what these terms actually mean to somebody, how we get that information like a detailed performer or property analyzer in front of those individuals and create a longer lasting relationship that can in fact be more fruitful than a traditional residential relationship, like we mentioned before. And again, like I always forget that there's this secondary slide to this thing, right? But there are so many of these types of conversations that I end up having on a daily basis that I actually leave every call. I would just say it like this. We're going to talk about refinancing today with Stephanie, my new investor lead or client, as I like to work her down the line into. But I always leave every conversation with I can help you through every one of these things. You have questions about your RSPs or a loan to value on a property or where you stand in this. I want to be your first call in real estate. I can be the central hub to your portfolio growth, your life in real estate, because I know how to speak to each and every one of the things that you see on your screen right now better than the competition can. This is a way for you to take inwardly from the masterclass and differentiate yourself in your own way to that potential client lead that has just come down the line to you, right? Understanding each one of these components because they're going to pick up the phone at some point and want to talk to you about them is essential to making that happen for your business. More unique opportunities with people, right? Listen, I think that the way that we are able to then differentiate ourselves is that we take a very high level monetary perspective. Like, how does somebody win in real estate from a dollars and cents perspective with the masterclass itself? We can identify more opportunities because we have the technology to do so. We can show more and more projects coming down the line because, again, we have the technology to be able to do that. Local market forecasts are actually your expertise. How are you then shining in your marketplace as somebody who can help you grow your real estate portfolio over a longer period of time? And you being in that marketplace are going to understand better than anybody the trends and the economic indicators that are going to hit these people coming to you at this point. Like I said before, you are far more likely to work with somebody who knows and likes you, right? Now you can add this as a component to your business that says you should be the first and only call in real estate because you're the only one who can answer questions of this nature for them That is the entire point of the masterclass itself.
Amazing, amazing. Um, okay, I see we have a hand raised. Maxine Morrison has raised their hand. Maxine, feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like, and or type it in the chat, whatever you're comfortable with. Let us
Yeah,
know what is on your mind.
thank you. So Bobby, this question's for you. I'm a licensed commercial agent as well as rurally licensed and residentially licensed. And so is there going to be a way where we can identify the thresholds of when you need an agent that is rurally licensed or commercial licensed? Because I find with investors, it leans into, it may start with residential, but it might go from a fourplex to an eightplex. And then all of a sudden you're in a commercial realm where you're not licensed to transact in those items. So what are we doing to be transparent to the general public, but also protecting our agents so they're not overreaching when they shouldn't be?
This is a great question, and I think that we talk about that tipping point a little bit inside of the masterclass itself. What we've done is built out a realm where any time that you would need commercial financing to get to that point, it becomes out of the scope of what this particular course or masterclass is. So I can actually put a very distinct like cap onto this. In the pre-construction realm, they are all, in theory, residential real estate investments. They're a single door. Okay. Anything that goes from a single door to 4 doors, very specifically, is what the RLP InvestorsEdge.ca site is gathering information on and applying metrics to. Anything 5 doors and above in that realm is in fact commercial and pushes through to RLP commercial on that particular site. It becomes more of a multiplex instead of a multifamily opportunity. Short-term rental, there's a bit of an argument to be made that it is a commercialized component of what real estate is, but because it falls within that 1 to 4 doors range, okay, it doesn't require different financing. So we've then encompassed it in this resi-mercial space here. But what I would tell everybody on the call is, like, it's really easy for me to say, well, they've gone to a 5-plex and you know what, I can still work with them because it's just 1 more door and I'm going to feel comfortable doing that. This is your fiduciary responsibility to make sure that these leads and these people in general, right, are handled in the best possible way from a fiduciary responsibility component. I just saw something pop up in the chat. What is a commercially designated agent? LePage has an entire commercial division. If you want more information about that, I think you can reach out to the help desk or learning services for more information about what that is and how to work more in the commercial realm in this way. But I know that each and every one of the LePagers on this call and beyond are going to do the right thing when they say, listen, this is out of my scope, but I have an entire commercial division over here that I can help to refer you to. And we all know that referrals work in this way, right? You're going to bring somebody that you've now worked to qualify more, bigger, better, faster, stronger, and you're going to have them land with a commercial agent somewhere in this country that's going to be able to help them get done what they need done while building that relationship with that lead. So when they do inevitably turn back around into something that you are more comfortable and more suited to work with, you're still that first call in real estate. That's sort of how I would paint that picture for everybody.
I see here in the chat, our friend Mike is putting his hand up, letting folks know that he's a commercial agent. And, you know, and this is a good discussion to have on the training platform, right? Where the masterclass discussion board zone, or even also on the Facebook page, start a little thread of like, who's a RLP commercial agent as well. Maybe you guys can create your own little list of yeah, Maxine,
I
follow
think that's such a great idea.
yeah.
I know what we're doing in here, right, is going to feel a little bit foreign to people. And for others that have worked in the more commercial sense, where the dollars and cents are more the focus of what the transaction is, it's going to feel more familiar. But they are distinctly different. And I want to be clear about that. It is, if you feel at any point that you're out of the scope of what you should be handling, right? I happen to know that LePage is an all-encompassing network of individuals. You could go to RLP Network, you can come to the Facebook group, you can reach out to us directly. I see somebody asking that, right? I think my phone number is going to come up or my email is going to come up on the next slide kind of thing. simply reach out and make sure that you're well within your fiduciary responsibilities in order to do this particular thing with that particular person.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. So I have here, folks, some next steps listed. Okay. So I mentioned the two lead types, the find an agent leads. Okay, that we're not going to create campaigns for you for, because you're all unique, you're all special, you're all different. I can't tell the world what's special about you. So you need to do that. But I will give you some resources that walk you through how to make a campaign. Okay. So I'm not going to leave you totally on your own. But when you get some time in the next few days, create campaigns for those lead types. Okay. Save that phone number, assign a special ringtone. If you don't already have your phone number in your RLP network, in the your cell phone number, let me be very specific, your cell phone number in the cell phone field, make sure you do it. And then continue with the masterclass training, okay? Because I know all of you folks here, you're all signed up. I'm 99.9% sure that you're all signed up, which is really cool. I feel like even a couple of you have finished. I know our friend Dane has. But keep at it, okay? Now, let's see here. I'm going to throw up the contact page. I see another question in the chat. Before I get to that, I just want everyone to, call the attention to the contacts. So there's Bobby's email. So reach out to him. Anything related to the masterclass series, okay, that's where you want to go. He is your direct line of contact, okay? Um, Anything sphere related, training related, you want to talk to our Royal LePage Learning Services Department. That's what they are here for. Anything kind of tech, tech tools, RLP tech tools. So your RLP profile, if you're hitting a roadblock, updating your phone number or your photo, make sure you have an up-to-date photo in your profile, please and thank you. If you need a hand with that, our customer care team is here for you. Okay, if you have general questions about the Smart Leads program, you can reach out to me. And if you have specific questions about Smart Leads and leads at your brokerage, you will need to talk to your manager or your leads administrator, whoever it is that's running the leads at your brokerage. Okay. So those are the important contact info questions. Feel free to ask more questions. I see the one from Maxine here in the chat. Is RLP going to have a way on the website to identify each agent with their license and define the over the prospect so they know who? Yeah, yeah. So we're asking, are they going to be defined on? So yeah, exactly. So only the folks who complete the masterclass training will have profiles featured on this investor site. So that way, when a client comes to the investor site and they search for somebody in, I don't know, Kamloops, BC, or Canmore, Alberta, or wherever, right? Quebec City, Quebec, they're only going to see the folks who have completed the course. Okay. You're going to have your little profile up there. And yeah, so I hope that answers the question. I think that's what you
I
were
would
asking
expand
there,
on that even just
Maxine.
a little bit
Yeah,
more,
expand,
right?
please. Yeah.
When I go to do all of my profile and everything on Royal LePage Network, right? That's what's drawing to the website itself. If I make that the most robust profile in the world, people are going to understand these are my expertise levels. I have a license in this, and. So it's please just make sure that everything is up to date. I love where your head is going with it, Maxine, trying to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. That all happens with you and your action, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would suggest there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I believe Chantel asked a question earlier that I just love to address. We've had 285, 290 individuals join the IE Masterclass program, something in that realm, if I'm not mistaken, and about 55%, if I'm not mistaken, have finished already. So there's a huge opportunity here for all of the early adopters. This is what excites me the most about an early adopter. You got in, you learned early, you're one of the first to inevitably differentiate yourself in the marketplace on a site that I believe is going to generate tons of more qualified and more refined leads over time. right? You just happen to be first in line. So the quicker you can get it done, kudos to Dane once again for being the first one to get it done. The quicker you can get it done, the faster we can get you into the program on the other side of this thing, which is distribution on the Smart Leads platform with Stephanie and team, so that you can start to see wins before anybody else does. It's a big country for just 285 investor filters to be servicing. I'd expect to be a little bit busy.
Yeah. So Maxine, I see you're asking more questions about search. So yeah, on Royal LePage, whether it's on, I guess I'll have to call it classic rlpSPHERE now, that one, or on the commercial, or on the upcoming investor one, there's sort of a basic search, but then there's also advanced search. Okay, so I would recommend that you check out the advanced search fields on rlpSPHERE after this call, because you'll see in all of those, there's all kinds of things where people can search for people with various licenses and such. Now, most, if not all of those, rely on, as Bobby said, you, the agent, ensuring that your profile is up to date. So if you've received some sort of accreditation, if you have a skill, if you specialize in land development, if you specialize in this, that, there's a whole pile of different things that you can pick from when you update your profile that are specialties. Okay. Do include everything that you're a specialist for, because when somebody comes to the site and they search for, oh, I want somebody that specializes in relocations in Toronto, and et cetera, like they can get very granular. So you definitely want to include all your skills, and also all your areas serviced, right? You don't want to forget that. Also languages. I know quite a few folks that speak multi languages, yet for some reason don't add it in their profile. And you're doing yourself a disservice, because if somebody comes to the site and they want someone who speaks Italian, and they do a search and they only find, 3 guys in Toronto, meanwhile there's probably 50. Well, who do you think's going to get the lead? Somebody that put it in their profile. So make sure that, yeah, you use your profile, highlight your skills. If you don't know how to do it, then reach out to customer care. Yes, my friend Maxine.
I'm sorry, one last thing.
That's okay.
I just want to, I feel like it's not being heard. So I just
Okay,
want to
yeah.
be clear on this. I am more specifically talking about licenses. So RECA is going to have issues if we do not define licenses specifically on this investor's website, because it leans into commercial so much. Yes, I can put keywords all day long on investors and business and blah, 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 and all those things on but there is no way for me to search if somebody actually has a license to do commercial or to do rural. And there's underovers that honestly, most agents don't even know the underovers are. And certainly the end users don't understand the differences necessarily what the underovers are on that. So I think there's a risk that we have if we don't allow for somebody to be able to say, I want to see licensees for only commercial or only rural or residential, or I'm generally open to whoever, then that's fine. But looking at specialties is different than actual licenses. So I just wanted to make that known. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Maxine, remind me, you're in Alberta, right?
Yeah, so they're all individual licenses.
Yeah,
And
Alberta's a tricky one. I remember that.
Ontario, it's all one license, but I believe like going forward, Korea is moving towards doing individual licenses. So we all had to get relicensed if we wanted to keep our license to be able to practice. And I didn't renew my property management one, but everything else I relicensed for. So and practicing in, but I do think it's at risk if we don't define that somehow. It really is. It especially in Alberta, because I just met another agent who has a rural listing that's 9 acres and he's not licensed in rural. So now I'm like, well, how do I deal with that? It's not my listing, but what do I, as a buying agent, how am I supposed to manage that situation right now? Right. So it's
So what I would say to this is that we're aware of those types of things, right? It's a bit of a different call for a different department because I've worked with Joanna Doritas, very specifically, Joanne Doritas at Royal LePage, to be able to ensure that we aren't delving into any one thing that we shouldn't be delving into. So I'll take this back to the technology team to ensure that like we factually are not, and that we can show the things that we're meant to be showing. But I do need to stress in this particular realm, right? That Maxine, because you're commercialized or commercial licensed in that way, right? Not commercialized, I apologize, but you're going to show up on what effectively amounts to an investor's edge site that is residential real estate and defined as such. You're also going to show up on the RLP commercial site where that particular thing matters as well. And you're doing so for those reasons, right? Because you have a license here, because you have a license there. I'll make sure that there is compliance across, the way that we show those things and that stuff. But I can guarantee you that Royal LePage would not have missed this as a compliant thing because we are such a national company in this way. So I'm speaking for Joanne and the tech team at this moment, but I feel comfortable in doing so to ensure that we are covered in this way. But I will take back the feedback and ensure that we are and get back to you because we have each other's email address and we're going to be able to talk to each other that way too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and Maxine, we have spoke with a number of brokerage owners in Alberta because of so we are aware of the regulations, and I want everyone to know we are 100% compliant with everything. One of the things that's amazing about the Smart Leads system that is that lead routing is very customizable. And specifically in Alberta, what Alberta brokerages do is now I can't do anything about what kind of listings the agents decide to represent. You talked about some some guy doing a rural listing and not having that. There's nothing we can do about that. But what we can do is only send certain leads to certain agents, just like how we're doing only investors or trained agents to get the investor leads. um, Only Royal LePage commercial agents receive commercial inquiries that come from our national websites. And we have, at the request of brokerages in Alberta, sent apply rules so only rental leads go to property managed certified agent. I can't remember how you guys phrase it out there, but only to people who can service them. So if you're having concerns like about leads in general, maybe getting the wrong ones, we could take this offline and you know but we do everything to make sure we're completely compliant with everything because we're into that. Yeah.
Stephanie,
Okay.
thank you so much for
I
having me.
know. I
I
feel
do
like we're
have to
going
run.
late with
I know
that.
that
Yeah,
we're a
I
little
know.
bit over.
We all have to run. Thank you, Bobby. Okay, you guys are great. If anyone has any follow-up questions, you shoot me an email. And you'll all get this recording soon, along with a bunch of amazing resources. Okay. Thank you, Bobby. You are the best.
My pleasure. Thank you once again for having me. Good luck, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.